Alright, rejoice everyone. We're back with another Sekhie Reacts to Fate. Today we're doing Valkyrie.
Which I am excited for, although I'm a little curious as to why it's Valkyrie and not Valkyrie with some other name, like as in one of the Valkyrie, not Valkyrie as the group of people.
Oh, we'll get to that.
So I'm curious about that.
I think, why don't we just address that now?
Well, and ideally I won't be as horrified about this as I was by Julius Caesar.
Hopefully not. So, let me see if that'll adjust it. Yes, it worked. So, this is Valkyrie.
Okay.
And, okay, if it'll load. You know, sometimes life just... What the fuck? What's happening?
I don't know what you did, but you did something. You always do something.
I swear to God, it's not my fault. There.
Oh, I see it.
That's also Valkyrie.
I saw it on the names.
That's also Valkyrie. Their art. And these are the Valkyrie.
So is it that there are 3 characters called the Valkyrie that you can get with different classes, or is it that they evolve into a different person as the form goes on?
So the Valkyrie just summons the collective Valkyries.
Oh, okay.
It's these 3 in particular that get summoned.
So, wait, so what were the names again?
So, the names in order here, from the order that you saw them, let me pull up my note. They are Ortlinde, Hildur, and Thrud. Let me see if they, I don't know if they...
Okay, Hildur is... Okay, no, and what was the other one?
Thrud.
Thrud with a T.H.?
Yes. That said, there might have been some symbols in there.
Okay, of those 3, only one of them I can find in the list of, like, actual Valkyrie names, but there's entirely a chance that that could be down to the way that the Japanese author has phoneticized the Norse letters, because several Norse letters actually stand for more than one letter in English. So there is one letter that means like a TH together, so it could be that as well.
And just because I know.
Although I'm kind of oh wait, I'm an idiot. Okay.
What?
I was gonna say I'm disappointed we don't get Brunhilde, but Brunhilde is actually
We're gonna get to that later.
Brunhilde's a separate servant.
Because there is something that actually separates them from Brunhilde.
Okay.
Like, in Fate.
Okay, and I'm sad we didn't get Air, but you know.
Here is the April Fool's art.
Aww. You know what this is? This is the version of Powerpuff Girls I wanted as a child. This is my Powerpuff Girls. I want plushies of these, like the plushies of the April Fool's art to be my Powerpuff Girls.
I mean, that is adorable.
Dude, wouldn't you love Powerpuff Girls if this was your Powerpuff Girls? This is the cutest!
What you're saying here is they need to fund a spin-off series. It's just a comedic series of these 3.
Yes! And look at, they got the little ear hair bits. Oh my god, it's so cute. I also, they have kind of wings, but not really wings. I kind of like that. Yeah. Because the Valkyries, you know, flew. Whether that's interpreted as flew on flying horses or flew of their own wings, they flew.
So, just as some general notes I made on the Valkyrie looking over what we have here.
They're so cute.
The Valkyrie are a servant made up of the collective of all of Odin's Valkyries.
Okay.
Summoning 1 summons these 3 main Valkyries. But these ones that also might just be tied to the one the main character in FGO knew, because these 3 actually served Scotty in her timeline.
Okay. Which is interesting.
That said, their histories largely reflect the same one, so it's not that big a difference between the timelines.
Well, and so we didn't really talk about the background of Valkyries, right? Before you get into the Fate background. But so Valkyries are basically warrior maidens in Norse mythology. They're sent, and half of the people that die on every battlefield, half go to Folkvrangur, which is Freya's heaven, and half go to Valhalla, which is Odin's heaven. The half that go to Valhalla become the Einherjar, or the forever warriors. Basically, it's kind of like a King Arthur thing, where like the Einherjar will forever fight on the side of Odin and participate in the Wild Hunt. And in the most unfortunately sexist depiction of Valkyrie in all of mythology, their job in Valhalla is to serve food and wine to the Einherjar. Even though they are renowned warriors of their own right, their job as women is to serve the men mead and food.
Okay, this is Norse. Old Norse.
That is true. That is true. It's understandable. There are a couple, like, really notable ones, like Sigrid, Eir, Brunhilde is really famous. But there's about 20 or 30 that are named across the Voluspa, a couple of the Vinland sagas, the Icelander sagas. They're written about in both the prose and poetic Eddas, and in several other writings. So they're pretty... I mean, there's one in fucking Marvel. I mean, they're fairly...
they're pretty well known.
Yeah, they're fairly well known. Like, everyone has, like, an image in their head when you say Valkyrie. Of course, usually it's chainmail bikini warrior woman wearing, like, a Norse... like that incorrect Viking helmet.
All things considered, that's actually probably one of the most conservatively dressed Valkyries I've seen in a while.
I was gonna say,
For Fate?
They are very covered up for, like...
For Valkyries.
Yeah.
Normally Valkyries, they just throw them in the chainmail bikini.
Yeah, like literally just a chainmail bikini.
Like, that's not I'm saying that this is acceptable for old medieval times.
I don't know, I think they're hot.
They are.
10 out of 10. Smash.
But that's actually one of the more conservative Valkyries in fiction, unfortunately.
Also, that's one of the more... Look, she is wearing titty armor, but look, her titty armor also protects her stomach.
Yeah. Which, that is the key dividing line between Valkyries and their
That's why I didn't like Penthesilea.
Yeah.
The titty armor has to extend to the tummy. It's got to be tit and tummy.
But yeah, a lot of that remains the same in Fate. That said, Fate does make the distinguishment between those big Valkyries that have very influential roles in stories like Brunhilde and these Valkyries.
Okay.
Actually, Brunhilde gaining independence from the Valkyries by falling in love with Sigurd and going through her ordeal is what is actually in Fate what caused the decline of the Valkyries, because the Valkyries function as not a hive mind, but they're supposed to be not unfeeling, but first and foremost, they collectively they don't consider themselves people.
Okay.
They're not independent.
Yeah.
They are the collective Valkyrie in their minds. Whereas Brunhilde sort of led the way for other Valkyries to stop doing that.
Yeah. Which would obviously lead to the decline of that particular interpretation, because more people would want to be independent, understandably.
So while these ones do have names, they are more or less...
I don't suppose there's a clearer view of the symbol on their shields at any point, is there?
Actually...
Oh, okay. Darn.
Were you hoping it was something specific?
I thought it, from the angle it's at, it looked like a version of the Valknut, which is, it's a set of intertwined triangles that symbolize fallen warriors. Warriors who went to Valhalla. So I thought maybe...
I mean, that might be somewhere in there, but it's not...
Yeah,
it's very
not
clearly
that.
meant to be a little bit more ornate just for the design.
Yeah, it's not the Valknut.
So yeah, let's get into their what they can do. They are the Lancer class.
Okay.
Although Scotty had more Mook versions of them made as well that were the Rider class, but they're a bit fundamentally different.
I'm a little surprised that they're not sabers at all.
Well, so I'll get into this a little bit more later, but they actually wield Gungnir.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, Gungnir is Odin's spear, and they're Odin's collectors of the dead. Okay, that makes sense.
So there's that shield again.
Also, fuck yeah, Gungnir. We're
gonna get into Gungnir. You're gonna like Gungnir.
I don't suppose they also get help from Hunin and Munin? Ravens. Odin's ravens.
Oh, there might be some throwaway thing in there in one of the lines. I just didn't catch it.
Yeah, interesting.
So all the Valkyries that are summoned with this shield and Gungnir.
Okay. Alright.
The shield is, it's just an iron shield that was forged by Odin himself during the Age of Gods.
Yeah, I was just checking to see if because there was a little subtitle beneath the image of the shield, so I thought maybe there might have been, like, a thing on it. I really loved Norse symbols and stuff. As such, I mean, that's what my tattoo is. I have one tattoo right now, and it's like a big Norse piece. And I kind of wanted to get the Valknut, and I still do, so I may someday get the Valknut.
As for Gungnir, it's technically a weakened version of Gungnir, a more degraded version. Mm-hmm. So it's not quite as powerful.
Well, presumably they couldn't wield it like Odin. That would make them so fucking OP.
Odin basically gave it to them. It was weakened and it was split into pieces. So.
Okay.
And they all, so the same way that Skahak Skadi could use runes, they can also use the runes.
Oh, okay. Some more runic magic.
Yeah. And there's one last just ability that I'm a little bit unclear on what it does. There might be some flavor text in one of the stories with them in Fate that explains what it does, or you might be able to gather more what it does through knowledge with mythology, but it's called the Fate Weaver. The Valkyries are supposedly capable of determining victory or defeat on a battlefield by tearing a cloth.
Yeah. So, according to some of the stories that they're written in, a couple of the Valkyries have names like Skuld and Verdandi and such. Mm-hmm. Those are the Norse fates, the Norns. Same names. And the Norns weave the cloth of fate, and when they like tear the cloth or change it, people die, and they determine the fate of everything. And very specifically, I think it's Skuld. Like, Skuld is listed as one of the names of one of the Valkyries that Odin lists, I believe. Yeah, Skuld. And her name actually means debt or future. And she appears in the Voluspa. So yes, actually, that does make a lot of sense. They're making an allusion to them being kind of like the Norns, but also at the same time, you have to think that the Valkyrie have to know who's going to die on a battlefield because they go to pick up people who are dying on battlefields.
That said, I don't think I'm pretty sure Fate's been pretty ambiguous as to what that actually means as far as what it can do. So we don't know too much. I don't know what it can do, but I'd be willing to bet that the flavor text and connection has to do with Norns. Yeah. Because the Norns weave fate. And I'll try to take this in the order that...
Yes, that's interesting. There are several ancient cultures, right? Like, the ancient Greeks also had weavers of fate, right? Like, snip the string and the person dies. The ancient Norse had weavers of fate, you know? And it was always 3 sisters as well in both stories. And that's actually pretty common, the symbology of, like, 3 sisters or 7 sisters, because Greece has both the Moirae and the other ones, Graike, and then the Norse have the Norns.
Yeah, I figured that it was a shared symbolatry between them.
Well, it's because past, present, future.
So they have 3 noble phantasms. I'll take them in the order of what's going to be the coolest one. The obvious one here is Gungnir.
Actually, the obvious one is not Gungnir.
Or is it Ragnarok?
It's Ragnarok.
We're gonna get to that one. You're gonna like that one.
I was gonna say, because literally the whole point of the Valkyries collecting Einherjar for Odin is to prepare for Ragnarok.
Yeah. So Gungnir, Fate considers this, and this might be the case. I don't know for sure as far as like the chronology and the canon of storytelling being passed down. Gungnir in Fate is considered the prototype of Guy Bolg, so its functions are likened to a slightly weaker version of it.
Oh, see, okay. This is where Norse mythology is interesting, right? Because almost 80% or more, I'd say, of what we have written down about Norse mythology was actually written down after the year 800 or so AD. Like Anno Domini, because a lot of Norse mythology was written down by Christians, right? Like monks and stuff like that. However, the oral traditions are very, very old. Like the oral traditions of Norse mythology and Celtic mythology are both extremely old. Like the Ogham runes and the Norse runes existed like a really long time ago. So it's interesting because a lot of what we have written down we don't know how much it's been changed, but presumably it has been changed by the people writing it down. Mm-hmm. And obviously there is no way to date whether Norse or Celtic oral histories are older. But they're also existing kind of in the same areas of the world, and the Norse had a very, very strong seafaring and trade tradition. Not even raiding and pillaging, but trading as well. I mean, they were as seafaring peoples.
keep in mind here that with Fate, you also have to think about that Fate considers a lot of this stuff, a good amount of it actually, to have actually happened. So if you were to date when the claims are of when these things took place.
Yeah. And, spears, that's one of those things, is that you've got famous swords, famous spears, famous bows, and often a lot of the things that famous spears can do will be very similar. There's only so many different powers you can start giving a spear before it starts feeling like you're inventing weird things to give to a spear to make it unique. Like, Rongominiad's very similar to Gaibolg and Gungnir, And Gungnir is also not the only weapon that Odin ever wielded, nor is it the only weapon that Ku or Skahak ever wielded.
Yeah, so we actually do know from... So, Archer Emiya has given us a bit of a testimonial, because he's taken both a Gaibolg to the face and a Gungnir to the face in his lifetime, apparently. And from his own testimonials, he will say that Gaibolg is the stronger of the two spears. We don't know the context of the Gungnir, but that's what he's said so far.
So, I really hate Archer Emiya, so this makes me very happy. Like, I knew he took a Gaibolg to the face, but the fact that he also took a Gungnir, now he just needs to take a Rongominiad to the face.
Well, Archer Emiya, if you look at his luck stat, it's actually really, really low.
That's what I mean. Now he just needs to take a Rongominiad to the face, and the trio will be complete.
Also, Archer Emiya is great, because Archer Emiya also hates Archer Emiya.
Yeah, we stan the self-hate.
Yeah.
Like, I get it, man. Sometimes I look back at what I did when I was younger and I go,
So, yeah. But Gungnir being the prototype of Gaibolg, it's also capable of that instant, like that guaranteed hit function of it. Also,
it specifies on, screen's obviously in front of me. The Njal saga is actually, that's the Iceland saga I was talking about, the one that they're in from the Vinland sagas. It's the Njal saga.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's probably the specific saga where Odin named Skuld as a Valkyrie, because he doesn't name them all at once. He names like different chunks in different sagas according to different
all of them
traditions.
have been, like, these are probably actual names. These are probably some of the bigger, more obscure ones.
The other two are not names as far as I could find, if that's the way that they're spelled. Now, the difference here will be how to translate Icelandic letters, or, those kind of letters into Japanese, because, like I said, there are a few letters, like, that derive from the Futhark alphabet that mean, like the TH is a different letter. It's one letter that produces a TH sound.
We've also got to keep in mind that Fate also could be mismashing other things besides just the direct mythology as well. Like, there are some operas that include Valkyries.
Yeah, actually...
Like, Wagner has a Valkyrie.
I was just going to say, one of those names seems really familiar, so give me...
Like, one of these could have very well come from Wagner.
One of these seems very... Okay, well, Ortlind is actually a named Valkyrie in Marvel, specifically.
Really?
Yes, like... first of all, Marvel 616. Yeah, like, actually. But also... Okay, so this is an example of how the translation changes. So this is how you spell Thrud in Norse. I can't write this on screen, and that's not going to show. That's not going to show. Go look it up. So basically, it's anglicized as Thrud, but it looks entirely different.
It looks more like Drud.
Yeah, so she is a Valkyrie. She's the daughter of Thor and Sif in the mythology. So yes, that one is an actual.
So you have to imagine that all three come from somewhere, some translation.
Yeah,
of that.
I'm sure Ortlinda. I'm sure we're just not finding the right anglicization of the name. Like, I'm absolutely positive that's the issue.
Because it would seem a bit silly to give these Valkyrie, like, give one Valkyrie a name that was there,
yeah, or
two, and then just make up one when there's other ones that are available.
Yeah, have the third not have a specific name. When Brunhilder and Hildur and Thrud all have it, Ortlinda has to be based on one. I just can't figure out which one it is on short notice.
So the next noble phantasm after Gungnir I want to go over is this one. You want to pronounce that for me?
Svanvit?
So that is their white robes. So Svanvit and Fate, I don't know... Well, there's the white robes on another one. But in Fate, Svanvit is what they wear when they're not riding Pegasi. When they're riding Pegasi, they don't need Svanvit. That's their best way of moving around aerially. But Svanvit gives them the ability to fly and gives them a fair amount of protections.
Okay, so that is from the Icelandic for white swan. Like, specifically from the poetic Eddas. Apparently, there's also one of the Valkyries actually has the name Svanvit as a moniker. They call her White Swan. And she was the daughter of King... Nope. I'm not trying that.
I feel like we've both done that today at some point.
Like, I looked at that and I was like, nope.
But yeah, no, that's the origin of why they're wearing white cloaks. Because I know Valkyries aren't often they're not usually imaged with white cloaks.
Well, they're not usually imaged white, but they're also typically imaged in, like, silver and armor colors. Like silver and gold and a lot of...
Which evidently they were wearing armor underneath.
Yeah, presumably, of course. And I see that third.
So I'm not going to click into this because this will spoil the animation here.
Also, here... Okay, I have a comment here, right? Mm-hmm. In the Ragnarok, they're using Norse letters in the second word. That's a th, I think. So why couldn't they use it in Thrud?
Because they want people to be able to pronounce the name.
I know. I get it, but it's...
Like, I don't want to get into this, because this is an entire, like, thing I could show you on how the translations for FGO goes, especially in relation to names that aren't English or Japanese.
Yeah.
But, so, yeah. But, so, the Ragnarok, how do you want to pronounce that, Sekhie?
So that's from... So it is a TH, so it's Lifthrasir.
So Ragnarok Lifthrasir.
Mm-hmm. Which actually is very interesting because Lifthrasir is the name of the male, right? So 2 humans survive Ragnarok. Lif and Lifthrasir. The male and female. They are foretold to survive Ragnarok by hiding in a special wood called the Hodim's Holt. And then they're going to repopulate the newly risen and fertile world after Ragnarok destroys the world in ice and fire, according to the poetic and prose Eddas. Mm-hmm. So, does Ragnarok destroy the world in fire and ice?
Okay, it's not quite that powerful.
Well, I mean, but it destroys whoever it's targeting.
So, let me go ahead and explain what this one is before I show it to you.
Okay.
This noble phantasm summons forth all of the Valkyries, even the ones not functioning as the normal servant.
Okay.
They then
including Brunhilde.
They then proceed to all throw Gungnir at the same time at their targets.
Okay.
Which, that would go exactly as you'd think if they're aiming at the targets directly.
Yeah.
And this isn't the part where it gets its name from, though. The part where the place where they throw Gungnir expels all of the wicked, and those pure will find themselves completely uninjured. But the wicked will find themselves cast aside along with their newly found injuries. On top of that, and where this gets scarier as far as fate is concerned, that area also casts aside servants, and will expel or make impossible to use any kind of magic or familiars. So it leaves them very exposed.
I could see that. That's pretty impressive.
And I think the name comes from, because it's sort of a smaller scaled version of the procedure they would use at Ragnarok.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That seems like there's a lot of Christianization in that. Like, more so than the actual story of Ragnarok. Like, like the whole, like, cast out the wicked and keep the others. That seems pretty Christianized. Which isn't a bad thing, I'm just saying, you know?
Let's see if... This should just be the FGO NP by itself.
同意たい。権限開始します。同期開始。照準完了。ラグナの来る。リーブスラッシュ。
Are there animations for Gungnir and...
So, animations for Gungnir would just be them throwing Gungnir and fighting
nothing
with Gungnir.
special.
Yeah, because those are mostly things that are always kind of active.
And Svanvit's just a
Svanvit's their rogue, so...
Okay. So is that, like, kind of always active?
Yeah, so it's just what they're always wearing. They can take it off.
Okay. That makes sense.
I guess just to touch on it here, in Scotty's timeline, the Scotty timeline, because most of the Valkyries are dead because that timeline involves Ragnarok ending very differently.
Well, the Valkyries would be dead in Ragnarok, too.
Except this timeline, Scotty remained the only god or goddess that remained alive, and then these 3 Valkyries were the only Valkyries left.
Ah.
So, Scotty created her own even more autonomous Valkyries that are even less people. Those are the rider class ones.
Okay. Honestly, I'm kind of disappointed. So they don't explain the symbol on their shields, and I'm actually kind of disappointed they didn't choose to just use the Valknut or something. But there's a chance that that's actually a symbol that I just don't recognize off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm saying I wish they'd explained if it's a made-up symbol or
that
if
very
it's...
well could just be something me failing to know what to look for with this.
Yeah, because it could be an actual symbol that I just don't recognize off the top of my head. There's so many of them. And it doesn't say anything specifically that I could see. Yeah, it just says Divine Iron Shield, and I
click
just...
into it, because sometimes there's a little bit more here.
Oh, shit, fuck.
Oh, wait, no, that's the robe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's not...
That's not the shield.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Oh, the shield's not listed as an NP.
Yeah, the shield's not an NP.
So,
it just says it's Divine Iron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm sure if there's something about it, someone in the comments will enlighten me. You guys are really good at pulling up stuff that NikNak forgets, and I really appreciate that because he is not infallible even though he tries.
Like, I try to get as much as I can, but I'd be lying if I said I wanted to read through every last thing that's ever been written on them.
Yeah, which is fair. It's fair. I like Valkyrie.
Well, I've actually got a few last fun things to note, because they're entirely personality-less, especially the longer they spend summoned.
Oh, I did see there was a little addendum of Brynhildr said that they were so different in personality.
They say they're similar, and they want to put up the facade they're similar, but they are still their own people. And so it's less that they don't have a personality and more that they're trying to suppress it.
Okay.
In FGO, there's apparently some throwaway stuff that in their pastime they play otome games to try better understanding people.
Oh, poor babies. That's not a good choice. That's not a good choice.
It's not a good choice, but we all understand that feeling.
Yes. Yep. We get it, but it's not a good choice.
So yeah, and that's what I've got on the Valkyries here.
I mean, I enjoyed that. That's a fun one. Much better than like Penthesilea, you know? But then again, I mean, there's a lot more on the Valkyries, you know, explicitly written than there is on Penthesilea, so I can understand.
It's like, you could do a lot with a servant you just called Amazon.
Yeah, if you just said, like, Amazon, you could have done something like this.
Jeffrey,
you can do it, pave the way, put you back into it, tell us why, show us how, look at where you came from, look at you now. I'm not singing the next line.
No.
But yeah, if you'd just done Amazon, right, and then had it be like Penthesilea, Hippolyta, like another Amazon, that would have been interesting. But they didn't. And I'm pretty sure, isn't Hippolyta her own separate servant?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're probably not going to get to her anytime soon, though.
No, but she is, so she exists, which is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think I would have preferred to see Amazons like this, because this seems like a fun way to do it, because you're kind of getting a 3-in-1 experience.
Mm-hmm.
Catch me searching after you go home tonight for Ortlinda. Because I know it's got to be one of them. I just have to find the correct name.
If both Marvel and Fate pulled that name from somewhere, it's got to be something they got it from.
Yeah, I just have to find the correct name.
Because otherwise Fate would be getting big Disney sued right now.
Right? Like, you'd be fucked.
Yeah, we'll figure out eventually. Maybe Sekhie will throw it into the comments or throw it into the description if she finds it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a name similar to that, which is what's throwing me, because there's only one O name listed, which is Olrun. But it could be, some of the others.
As you brought up, it's kind of interesting to me, at least, that they kept like Brynhildr and likely in the future other of the major named Valkyries just to be their own
I was
thing.
surprised we didn't say Air.
So that tells me that this is not the last we're seeing of these Valkyries.
Well, yeah, because that's the other thing, right? Is unlike the Amazons, right, which are their own separate culture, Valkyries don't beget Valkyries. Typically, Valkyries are the daughters of gods and goddesses or famous kings in the mythology, like Thrud, not Thrud, but the other one is the daughter of a king in Norse mythology. So they're typically the daughters of nobles and kings. And they're often seen, the individual Valkyrie are often lovers of heroes in the stories.
They are that in Fate as well.
They have a lot more personality than the Amazons do because they interact with the mythology more than the Amazons do. Like, the Amazons show up occasionally, but it's always as we accidentally ran into the Amazons on this quest.
Amazons have largely, just over the course of culture, just become warrior women, and not much else.
A culture of warrior women that doesn't really interact with the outer world unless the outer world comes across them, while Valkyries have to interact with the outer world all the time. So it gives a lot more individuality to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we've exhausted this topic a little bit, so I guess... Oh, yeah! Do we want to go ahead and tell them what we're doing next?
Oh, who's next?
Rama and Sita.
Yes! Rama and Sita.
So we'll see you back next time with Rama and Sita. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, go check out our other stuff.